Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to the inaugural episode of Lounging with Landon, where today we are going to be making garlic breadsticks. Now, not to toot my own horn or anything, but I believe that these are comparable to the ones that you would find at any major restaurant chain. So, without further ado, let us begin with what you will need. Now, the first thing we'll need is water. Oh dear. This will not do. So let's see if it's still got some of the magic in the end. Whoa. Okay. That was creepy. Anyway, thanks. I also do back alley Las Vegas shows. Now, the next thing we'll need is instant dry yeast. And after that, we will need flour. Make sure you got some good flour, man. After that, we will need sugar. Now, I know this seems like a lot, but we actually won't be using very much of it. Yeah, that's the good old white stuff. Anyway, we will also need some kosher salt, some good quality olive oil. Make sure it's good quality. Now, for the garlic butter itself, we will of course need butter. Can't have garlic butter without butter. We'll also need some garlic. Can't have garlic butter without garlic. Now, the first thing you will want to do is bloom 2 teaspoons of instant dry yeast with around 1 cup of warm water, whatever temperature is needed to make sure your yeast, don't die. So now, while that's blooming, we're going to combine our flour mixture. Now, while the yeast is doing its thing, in a medium-sized bowl, we're going to combine our flour, 3 cups worth, our 2 teaspoons of salt, as well as our 2 tablespoons of sugar. Now we're going to turn on some old-time rock and roll and give that boy some whiskey business. And then, once it is all thoroughly combined, just make sure to tap that whisk on the side. And we're going to combine roughly half of that mixture into our stand mixer. See what I did there? Our yeast should be thoroughly done by now, so we're just going to combine all of that into the bowl of our stand mixer. And with the paddle attachment attached, we're going to mix that until it is thoroughly combined. Once it is thoroughly combined, we're going to add our 3 tablespoons of good quality olive oil and then stir that until it is well combined. Once it is all thoroughly combined, add the rest of your flour mixture into the stand mixer and switch from the paddle attachment to the dough hook attachment. And then let it all mix together on medium-low until it all comes together into one cohesive ball. Once it has all come together, switch the speed to medium-high and continue to knead for roughly 1.5 to 2 minutes. Once it is done kneading, you're going to want to take a medium-sized bowl, lightly grease it up with your olive oil, and then plop it in. Once that is done, we're going to want to use a technique that involves us forming our dough into a nice, taut little ball. And in order to do that, we're going to want to take our hand and scoop it under whilst using the dough. So, take your hand, scoop it under a little bit, turn a little bit, take your hand, scoop, turn a little bit, and keep repeating this until you have a nice, supple, taut little ball of dough. Plop that in to your nice greased bowl. Give it a little trip on the gravitron so that it's all nice and greased. And then, once that is done, cover it with some little plastic wrap and let it sit for roughly an hour. Hey Landon. Yeah, I'm talking to you, past Landon. Yeah, do you have any idea what the word continuity means? And didn't think so, using 2 different kinds of shots and single thing. What are you, some kind of animal? Go away. I'm done with you. Anyway, once our dough has finally gained the courage to rise above and become better than its plastic society, we're going to want to do what any good government would do and smash it down so that it knows its place. Did I say that out loud? Anyway, what we're going to want to do is push all the air out of it so that way we can continue to knead it just a little bit more. Make sure to knock out all the air out of it and then lightly flour your work surface, so that way we can begin turning it out, it being the dough. Once we got our nicely floured work surface, we are going to want to take our dough, just give it a little knead around, just be safe, make it into a nice little ball again. So make sure it's nice and floured on both sides, and what we're going to want to do is roll it out. We don't want it super thin, we just want a nice little dough log that we can split into even pieces. Once we have a decently even dough log, we're going to want to take a butter knife or any type of utensil. I choose to use a butter knife. But once we got your utensil of choice, we're going to want to cut these out into roughly 8 to 12 as equal pieces as you can get them. If not, that's perfectly okay. I'm not going to judge you. And we're going to use the same ball method with all of our dough. Once that is done, we're going to want to simply roll out our nice even dough balls into the breadsticks that they will one day become. Now, we don't want them being too thin, but we also don't want them being too fat. Just make them into the size of breadsticks that you would normally think of getting. Except these won't be ones that you'll be getting, they're going to be ones that you yourself are making, and I am proud of you for that. Anyway, take some wax paper, put it on the pan that you are planning to use to cook these, and spray it down with some non-stick spray. I got lazy, I didn't want to use the olive oil again because I'd already put it away. If you want to, that's fine. These are your breadsticks. So, once that is done, just simply lay down all of your breadsticks good half an inch, 3/4 of an inch apart. If you don't have enough space, that's perfectly fine. You can use 2 pans. I'm not going to judge you. It's perfectly fine if you need to use 2 pans. But just keep rolling them out until you get them to their desired length. Then I decided not to be lazy and get out the olive oil again, and I'm simply taking another piece of wax paper and coating it with the olive oil and then putting them over the breadsticks so that way they can continue to rise once again for around 45 to 50 minutes. Once our breadsticks have proofed for anywhere from 45 to 55 minutes, we are going to preheat our oven to 425 degrees Fahrenheit, and while that is doing its thing, we are going to start preparing our garlic butter. Now, what I chose to do was I took 3 cloves of garlic, I peeled them, and then chose to just cut off the ends to make life easier for me. And then, while we are waiting for that, we are going to melt our 1 stick of butter, unsalted, but if you only have salted, that's okay, perfectly fine. Then we're going to just let that melt on low heat. Then I chose to crush in my garlic, and I also added a couple of, herbs, just, oregano, a little bit of garlic salt, some onion powder. And then I just chose to strain all of that. And then, by the time that's done, after around 10 to 15 minutes, our breadsticks should be done, and I gave them a very liberal spread of the garlic butter we just made. Then, plate them up,